Ethan never imagined that a simple day at the interstellar station would change his life forever. He was a human engineer, born on Earth, but working among aliens in the galactic trade hub of Orion Station. His work was simple yet important, repairing spacecraft engines, cuting shields, and helping travelers keep their ships safe. Humans like him were respected for their practical skills, even if aliens often doubted their cleverness in politics or diplomacy. That morning, Ethan was sipping hot coffee in the station's cafe when a sharp announcement echoed over the public intercom. Ethan Marsden, you are summoned to the High Council Court immediately. Non-compliance is prohibited. Ethan frowned. He had never been in trouble before. He had repaired starships for alien nobles, traders, and even minor diplomats, but a court summons sounded serious. He finished his coffee, grabbed his toolkit, and headed toward the gleaming towers of the High Council. The court was unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. Towering walls of crystal and metal surrounded a circular chamber, glowing faintly with alien energy. In the center, 3 judges floated above the ground, their forms shimmering in blue and silver light. The judges were representatives of the Orion Consulate, the most powerful interstellar authority for this sector. Ethan was led to a pedestal in front of them. He looked up, nervous, and waited for someone to speak. Ethan Marsden, human male. Your presence is required because of an ancient treaty signed centuries ago between your species and the Orion Consul family. The largest judge's voice boomed, deep and echoing. By decree of the High Council, you are legally obligated to marry the granddaughters of the Consul, Lyra and Selena. Ethan blinked. His mind refused to process the words. Marie. The granddaughters. He stammered. I don't understand. The judges did not smile. The treaty requires this union to ensure lasting peace and cooperation between humans and the Consul family. The law is absolute. Refusal is not an option. Ethan felt as if the floor had vanished beneath him. His hands shook slightly as he looked at the judges. I'm just an engineer. Why would the council why me? You have shown qualities valued in humans' bravery, intelligence, and adaptability. These traits, combined with your heritage, make you suitable. Your performance in previous missions demonstrated your worth. Ethan's thoughts raced. He had repaired the luxury cruiser of an alien diplomat, saved a small transport ship from an engine failure, and even rescued a crew from a drifting asteroid. But marriage to alien royalty? That was a step he had never imagined in any calculation or plan. Before he could protest further, the court activated a holoscreen showing 2 alien women standing side by side in a regal garden. Their forms were elegant, humanoid, but with subtle differences. Their skin shimmered faintly in violet tones. Their eyes were larger and golden, and their hair moved slightly, as if touched by invisible wind. These are Lyra and Selena, your future partners, the judge explained. You will meet them under court supervision immediately. Ethan gulped. The screen flickered off, and he was led to the Consul estate, a vast floating structure of crystal and light suspended over the orbit of Orion Station. The estate was breathtaking. Gardens that floated in zero gravity, fountains that glowed with alien energy, and corridors lined with artifacts from hundreds of worlds. At the entrance, 2 figures waited. They were Lyra and Selena. Lyra stepped forward first. She had a curious analytical gaze, scanning Ethan from head to toe. Selena was more reserved, her expression calm but watchful. You are the human? Lyra asked, her voice melodic but firm. Yes, I suppose so, Ethan said nervously, scratching the back of his neck. Ethan Marsden. Selena nodded slightly. The court has chosen you. Now we will see if you can follow our customs. What? Customs? Ethan asked. He had expected an awkward conversation, but what they meant was far more complicated. The sisters guided him through a series of tests. Small at first, but growing in difficulty. The first was a zero-gravity obstacle course, designed to measure coordination, balance, and quick thinking. Ethan stumbled at first, floating awkwardly, bumping into walls and spinning in circles. But slowly, his human ingenuity came into play. Using small thrusters and careful hand movements, he completed the course efficiently. Impressing the sisters and a small crowd of alien observers. Not bad for a human, Lyra said, a hint of a smile on her face. Most failed the first trial entirely. Selina raised an eyebrow. Perhaps he is cleverer than expected. Next came a test of intelligence and problem-solving. Ancient alien puzzles were projected in mid-air, glowing symbols, shifting patterns, and mechanical locks. Ethan's mind worked differently than the aliens. While they tried to recognize patterns based on tradition, Ethan applied simple logic and step-by-step reasoning. Piece by piece, he solved the puzzles, earning nods of approval from the sisters. "You see," Ethan said, catching his breath, "sometimes the simplest solution works best." Lyra's eyes widened. Humans. Think differently, it is. Effective. But not everything was easy. Ethan struggled with the social rituals of the Consul family, greeting gestures that seemed illogical, ceremonies involving floating platforms and energy orbs, and communication that relied on subtle, telepathic cues. He fumbled repeatedly, earning soft laughter from Selina. He finally stepped in to guide him patiently. "You must not worry," she said kindly. "We will teach you. If you try sincerely, you will learn faster than others." Ethan realized that this was more than just a test of skill. It was a test of character, patience, and humility, qualities that humans often learn from struggle, not training. Days passed. Ethan gradually adapted to the alien customs, learning to float gracefully in zero gravity, manipulate energy orbs, and even communicate simple thoughts telepathically. He and the sisters began to talk about themselves, sharing stories of their lives. Lyra loved exploring alien worlds, while Selina preferred studying ancient histories. Ethan spoke of Earth, his family, and how humans valued creativity and courage. The sisters listened, fascinated. They had heard of humans before, but had rarely met one in person who was both brave and thoughtful. Their curiosity grew into respect, though neither would admit it fully yet. Then one day, a crisis struck. A security alarm blared through the estate. Rogue aliens had infiltrated the estate, seeking to disrupt the court's tests and perhaps discredit the treaty. Panic spread among the staff and guardians. Ethan's instincts took over. "Get the sisters to safety?" he shouted, moving quickly through corridors. Using his knowledge of engineering to override security locks and redirect energy shields, Lyra and Selina followed. Impressed by his courage and calm under pressure, the rogue aliens attempted to block their path. But Ethan had prepared a trap. Using small tools and alien machinery, he created a temporary barrier, allowing the sisters to escape unharmed. Once the danger passed, the sisters stared at him, breathless. Lyra's expression softened. "You saved us." Most humans would have run or hesitated. Selina nodded. "Your bravery. It is unusual. You do not merely survive, you protect." Ethan, exhausted, shrugged. "I couldn't leave anyone in danger." "That's what I do?" For the first time, the sisters saw him not as a human forced into their world by law, but as a person worthy of respect and trust. The court's test was not only about skills, but about character. And Ethan had shown it clearly. By the end of part 1, Ethan stood on the terrace of the estate, looking at the stars. He thought of Earth, his quiet life, and how much everything had changed in a few days. A human male suddenly bound by law to alien royalty, facing challenges far beyond his imagination. Yet for the first time, he felt a spark of confidence. He realized that if he could survive these trials, adapt to alien customs, and earn the sisters' respect, he might not just survive, he might thrive. And in the vast universe where humans were often underestimated, Ethan Marsden was beginning to show that courage, intelligence, and heart could shine brighter than any law, treaty, or expectation. After the crisis in the estate, Ethan felt both exhausted and more determined than ever. The rogue aliens had been a warning. His journey was not only about proving himself in the eyes of the court, but also about surviving the subtle dangers that surrounded the Consul family. He now understood that the world of alien politics was far more complicated than he had ever imagined. Lyra and Selena had changed too. The sisters no longer regarded him as a mere human chosen by law. They were beginning to see his courage, intelligence, and kindness, qualities rare even among alien nobility. Yet they remained cautious. Trust in their world was not given easily. The High Council announced the next phase of the trials. This time, it would be a series of challenges designed not only to test physical skills and intelligence, but also moral character, leadership, and the ability to navigate delicate social situations. Ethan was escorted to the Hall of Trials, a vast chamber filled with shifting platforms, holographic simulations, and alien devices designed to challenge every part of a candidate's mind and body. "Remember," Lyra said, her voice calm but serious, "these trials are not just about skill, they are about choice. You must show who you truly are," Selena added, "and sometimes what you choose to protect is more important than what you achieve." Ethan nodded. He had learned quickly that in this alien world, honor and character mattered as much as intelligence. The first challenge was a puzzle of energy conduits. Holographic beams of light floated in midair, shifting constantly, forming complex networks. Ethan had to connect them in a way that would allow a simulated starship to travel safely through a field of asteroids. He studied the patterns carefully. Unlike the aliens, who relied on memory of previous simulations and complex calculations, Ethan applied simple logic. Step by step, he traced the beams, redirected the energy, and stabilized the holographic starship. Lyra watched closely. "He does not follow tradition, yet he succeeds." She whispered to Selena, "Humans think differently. It is remarkable." Selena nodded, a small smile forming. "Yes, and sometimes different thinking is what saves lives." The next test was physical agility under stress. The candidates had to navigate a zero-gravity obstacle field while carrying delicate energy cores. Ethan's human body was not as naturally strong or fast as the aliens, but he had ingenuity and determination. Using small thrusters on his suit, he adjusted his trajectory, spun carefully around barriers, and protected the cores from damage. By the end of the challenge, he was covered in sweat, breathless, but successful. The sisters' admiration grew quietly. They began to see that courage, careful thinking, and never giving up were powerful traits in a human. However, the trials were not only about tests and puzzles. They were also about understanding the social complexities of the Consul family. Ethan was invited to a grand dinner with advisors, nobles, and emissaries from neighboring systems. He felt out of place at first, surrounded by alien etiquette, strange foods, and conversations in multiple languages. But instead of panicking, Ethan relied on observation and empathy. He noticed subtle gestures, small changes in tone, and expressions that revealed more than words. When a misunderstanding arose between two alien delegates, he offered a simple solution based on fairness and logic. The result was a quiet but significant resolution, and the council members nodded in approval. Lyra and Selena noticed this closely. "He can see what others do not," Selena commented quietly. "Not just with eyes, but with heart," Lyra added. "Perhaps this is why the court chose him. Not because of strength, but because of character." Ethan's growing rapport with the sisters was interrupted when another crisis occurred. The rogue alien faction that had attacked the estate before was not finished. They had infiltrated a neighboring sector. Planning to create political chaos and discredit the Human-Alien Treaty, the High Council called a special mission. Ethan, along with Lyra and Selena, would be part of a team sent to prevent the faction from achieving their goal. The task was dangerous. It involved boarding a rogue spacecraft, navigating its traps, and neutralizing the threat without casualties. Ethan's heart pounded as he stepped aboard the ship. The corridors were narrow, dark, and filled with unpredictable hazards. Alien guards moved swiftly, but Ethan relied on his human quick thinking and adaptability. He disarmed traps, rerouted security systems, and found ways to guide the sisters safely through dangerous areas. At one point, Lyra almost fell into a trap pit lined with energy spikes. Without thinking, Ethan leapt, catching her just in time. She gasped, staring at him in shock. "You risked yourself for me?" "I couldn't leave you," Ethan said simply. It's not about the court or the treaty. It's about keeping people safe. Selena's expression softened as well. Humans, they act with pure intent. It is unusual and admirable. The team eventually succeeded. The rogue faction was captured, and the treaty remained secure. The High Council praised Ethan, Lyra, and Selena for their courage and collaboration. But the real victory was deeper. Ethan had earned the sisters' trust. They now saw him as a protector, a partner, a human capable of bravery that rivaled even the most skilled aliens. Back at the estate, Ethan began to feel a sense of belonging. He shared meals with Lyra and Selena, helped in their studies of history and technology, even taught them simple human strategies for problem-solving. They laughed together, debated ideas, slowly formed a bond stronger than any forced arrangement could create. Yet the political world remained challenging. Some members of the Consul family were suspicious of a human gaining influence over Lyra and Selena. Secret whispers suggested that if Ethan failed in the next trial or revealed any weakness, the treaty might be endangered. The sisters warned him quietly. "You must stay sharp," Lyra said, her tone serious. "Some watch you closely. Not all wish for this union to succeed," Selena added. "But remember, trust your heart. Your courage and honesty are your greatest strengths." Ethan nodded, understanding that the journey ahead was not just about surviving trials or following Lut, was about showing humanity at its best. In courage, empathy, and cleverness. The final test of this phase was announced, a simulation of interstellar diplomacy. Candidates would face a complex negotiation with representatives from multiple species, including those hostile to humans. The goal was to reach a peaceful agreement while protecting their allies. Ethan approached the simulation cautiously. He remembered the lessons he had learned. Listen first, observe carefully, and act with fairness. When alien representatives tried to manipulate the negotiation, Ethan responded with calm reasoning. When tensions rose, he used small gestures, reminders of shared goals and mutual benefits, to guide discussions toward compromise. Lyra and Selena watched, pressed. Ethan's approach was unorthodox, yet effective. The human's reputation for diplomacy often relied on loud declarations or force, but Ethan showed that wisdom and patience could achieve what aggression never could. By the end of Part 2, Ethan had completed every challenge. He was no longer seen as a human bound by law, but as a worthy partner, respected by the sisters, the Council, and even some alien skeptics. The story closes with a quiet evening in the estate gardens. Stars shimmered around them, and floating lights cast gentle reflections on the crystalline fountains. Ethan sat with Lyra and Selena, sharing stories of Earth, its oceans, and the human way of life. Lyra smiled softly. "You have changed how we see humans, Ethan, not by force, but by being yourself." Selena nodded. "Perhaps this is the true purpose of the treaty. Not just law, but understanding. Not just duty, but trust." Ethan looked at the stars, feeling both awe and responsibility. He had survived trials, protected the sisters, and earned respect. But he knew the journey was not over. Greater challenges lay ahead, challenges of the heart, of choice, and of forging bonds that could reshape interstellar politics. Yet he felt ready. He was a human, underestimated by many, yet capable of courage, wisdom, and heart. And in the vast universe, Ethan Marsden had begun to shine as a human who could truly make a difference. The estate of the Consul sparkled under the light of distant stars. Ethan had grown accustomed to its floating gardens, glowing corridors, and complex rituals. But even with familiarity, the final stage of his journey felt heavier than anything he had faced before. This phase was not just about tests or courage, or even survival. It was about choice, about trust, and about proving that a human could not only adapt but lead in the alien world. The High Council summoned Ethan, Lyra, and Selena to the central chamber, where representatives of dozens of species observed in silence. Holographic projections displayed maps of interstellar trade routes, treaties, and political boundaries. The judges spoke clearly, their voices echoing across the chamber. Ethan Marsden, you have completed all trials set before you. Now the final decision rests with Lyra and Selena. They may choose freely whether to accept you as a partner or refuse the court's decree. Ethan's heart pounded. For days he had faced challenges that tested every part of him, physical, mental, and moral. But now the ultimate test was human emotion and connection. Would the sisters see him as more than a forced participant in a centuries-old treaty? Lyra stepped forward first. She looked at Ethan with her golden eyes, calm yet intense. Ethan, we have seen your courage. You have faced dangers that most beings would flee from. You have saved lives, including ours, without hesitation. You think with wisdom and act with care. You show a humanity we seldom understand. Ethan swallowed. I only did what I felt was right. I never thought about recognition. Selena's expression softened. Your heart guides your actions. It is not merely law or obligation that moves. You is your character. You show bravery, kindness, and honesty. For a long moment, silence filled the chamber. All the alien delegates and council members watched, waiting. Ethan felt as if the weight of centuries of law, expectation, and politics rested on his shoulders. Then Lyra spoke again. By choice, not by decree, I accept you as a partner. Selena followed with a gentle nod. And I, too, choose this union, not because the law requires it, but because I see your worth, your courage, and your heart. A murmur ran through the chamber. Alien delegates, some skeptical at first, now recognized a truth that no law could mandate. Humans, underestimated for centuries, could rise to respect, wisdom, and honor. The High Council judges looked down, their forms glowing brighter. The verdict stands, not merely by law, but by choice and respect. The human has proven his value, not only to the Consul family, but to all who doubt the strength of his species. Ethan felt a mix of relief, awe, and joy. He had survived tests, protected the sisters, and gained respect from beings far older and wiser than himself. Yet the journey had changed him too. He now understood that true strength was not in force or numbers, but in courage, heart, and honor. Life after the Council's announcement was different. Ethan moved into the estate with Lyra and Selena, not as a servant, nor as a forced husband, but as a respected partner. Their bond grew with each passing day. They studied together, explored the gardens, and even ventured outside the estate to neighboring sectors, sometimes as diplomats, sometimes as adventurers. During one journey, they visited a distant planet where humans had barely arrived. Ethan's presence, alongside the Consul Granddaughters, drew attention. Many aliens, who had doubted humans' worth, now looked upon him with admiration. They see you differently now, Selena said quietly as they walked under alien trees that glowed with soft light. Your courage and character have shown them that humans are capable of more than they thought. Lyra nodded. Yes, and you remind us that choice, not law, is the true measure of partnership. But the story was not without challenges. Some factions within the Consul family were still wary of a human influencing alien affairs. Whispers circulated, questioning whether Ethan's decisions might endanger trade, agreements, or interstellar peace. Ethan faced these suspicions with calm reasoning and simple honesty. In meetings, he proposed solutions that combined human ingenuity with alien tradition. Where aliens relied on old customs or force, he applied clever strategies, careful observation, and logical compromise. Slowly, even skeptics began to acknowledge his skill and integrity. One critical moment arrived when a dispute erupted between two alien trade clans. A mistake in cargo handling had escalated into accusations and threats of armed conflict. The High Council called an emergency session. Ethan was asked to mediate. He remembered the lessons from his first trials. Listen carefully, think clearly, and act with fairness. He studied the situation, asked simple but precise questions, and proposed a solution that allowed both clans to save face while preventing losses. The results stunned the council. The clans accepted his plan without violence, impressed by the logic and simplicity of his solution. Lyra and Selena watched with pride as the human they had chosen not only adapted but excelled in alien politics. Over time, Ethan also showed them the human capacity for emotion, joy, and humor, something many aliens often found strange. He told stories of Earth's oceans, forests, and celebrations. He laughed at minor mistakes, celebrated small victories, and showed the sisters that humans had not only courage and intelligence, but a warmth that could inspire trust and friendship. The sisters, in turn, taught him about alien history, ethics, and advanced science. They shared stories of the Consul family's past, explaining the treaties, alliances, and long-standing rivalries. Ethan listened carefully, learning not only to respect their customs but also to find solutions that bridged human and alien understanding. The bond between Ethan, Lyra, and Selena deepened. It was no longer a matter of law, obligation, or political necessity. They were a team, a partnership, and a family bound by respect, trust, shared experience. Then came a quiet evening that would define their future. Ethan stood on the balcony of the estate, looking at the stars, when Lyra approached him. "Ethan," she said softly, "you have changed our world. Not because you followed rules, but because you acted with your heart. Humans are underestimated too often, but you have shown what is possible." Selena joined, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, you have shown courage, wisdom, and loyalty. You remind us that strength is not only in skill, but in honor and kindness. We chose you, and we will stand together, not because law demands it, but because respect and trust bind us." Ethan felt a surge of emotion he could hardly describe. He had arrived in this alien world as a simple human engineer, underestimated and untested. Yet now, he was recognized as a true partner, trusted and respected across species, and celebrated for his human qualities of courage, ingenuity, and heart. Their partnership brought more than personal satisfaction. The union of human and alien perspectives created new alliances, opened trade opportunities, and fostered mutual respect across species. Humans gained new recognition for their value, not just as laborers or diplomats, but as partners capable of leadership, innovation, and courage. The High Council held a formal ceremony. Ethan, Lyra, and Selena stood together, surrounded by delegates, nobles, and allies from dozens of worlds. The judges spoke clearly. Let this union symbolize more than law. Let it symbolize respect, understanding, and the true potential of all beings, human and alien alike. Ethan Marsden has proven that humanity, even when underestimated, can rise to challenges, inspire trust, and shape the course of the stars. Ethan felt the words sink in. He looked at the sisters and smiled. "I never imagined this journey," he said quietly. "I came here as a simple human, and now I see how much we can achieve together." Lyra smiled back, her golden eyes warm. "You have shown us the best of your species. That is why we chose you," Selena added. "And together, we will face whatever challenges the universe presents. Not as law or obligation, but as partners and allies." The ceremony ended, and celebrations followed. Aliens from many worlds congratulated Ethan, not as a human who had obeyed a court order, but as a hero, a protector, and a respected partner. For the first time, humans in the galaxy were seen not as weak or simple, but as beings of courage, ingenuity, and heart. As the celebrations wound down, Ethan, Lyra, and Selena stood quietly on the estate balcony. Stars stretched endlessly around them, and the vast galaxy seemed both intimidating and full of possibility. Ethan spoke softly. "This journey has taught me something important. Humans may be small in the galaxy, but if we act with courage, kindness, and cleverness, we can stand tall among the stars." Lyra nodded. "And we will remember this. Your choices have shown us the strength of humanity. Together, we are stronger than any law, any tradition, or any obstacle." Selena smiled, resting a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "Yes, and now the future belongs to those who act with heart, courage, and respect. That includes humans." The three stood together, looking at the galaxy, ready for the adventures, challenges, and discoveries that awaited them. They knew the path ahead would not be easy, but they had proven that trust, courage, and intelligence could bridge worlds, unite species, and create bonds stronger than law itself. In that moment, Ethan understood what it truly meant to be human in the galaxy. Not just a survivor, not just a worker or soldier, but a being capable of inspiring respect, forging alliances, and shaping the course of history through heart, courage, and integrity.